let's just talk about a few things real quick that I think is very interesting. And I don't think enough of us think about it, okay? So, think about water and what you know about it. Like, first off, where in the Bible does God create water? Well, he doesn't. There's no creation moment of God creating water, okay? God separated the waters from the waters, but the assumption may be that water was always here, okay? That's just one thing. I'm not saying anything definitive, and I'm not looking for people to come back and say, oh no, but the Hebrew, I don't care. I'm just saying, in general, let's think about what water does. And isn't it weird that when you were a kid, maybe still today, you know how you flip a coin or you throw a coin into a fountain to make a wish? Kind of weird. Who came up with that, right? So why would you wish on water? Why would you throw a coin in a fountain, wish on water? Just something to think about. We know that God is in us and all around us. Isn't water in us and all around us? The answer, of course, is yes. Okay? You've heard as above, so below. Right? Well, we know that there's waters above. We know that there's primary waters below. How about that? As above, so below. We know that God separated the water from the waters. And people have kind of always wondered, what does that mean? Is there water up above it? Well, yeah, there's water everywhere. And look, what do we have? He separated the waters from the waters. So we know that God is above us and below us. Okay? How about Jesus walked on water? Strange. Okay? So water's got some, definitely it's all over, it's spiritual, it appears in the Bible more than prayer, more than a bunch of other words. When the water falls from the sky, it's kind of dying to give us life. Falls to the ground, it gets seeped into the ground, and then what happens? It's resurrected. It's resurrected as part of the water cycle, and it ascends to heaven to where it will save us again in the future. Okay? We've got, it's life-giving. You cannot be alive without water. Not you, not me, not any animal, not any plant. So nothing on earth exists without what? Water. Okay? Could life be a test to see exactly if we can learn to flow like water, right? Water gives life to others. Water refreshes their thirst. Water refreshes their spirit. It quenches their thirst. Are we supposed to move freely and act like water? Just a thought. Again, it may be blasphemous to you. Unfortunately, blasphemy only is a crime for people who are in the same religion as you, not me. Where in the Bible? Oh, sorry, I talked about that. The atmosphere being water, yes. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about primary water, which is, I think, Dave Weiss does a good job talking about Gaddafi and what happened over there. But really, here's the insane thing about primary waters. Science ignores the fact that, and I guess it's because of big business. I mean, I'm learning now that science is involved in this whole process because they need funding, and so I could see that happening. But think of all the money that's made from the existing paradigm of water being scarce. Correct? Tons of water, tons of money being made. Even though water exists below everybody's feet and not very deep, a couple hundred feet. We're not talking miles down, we're talking a couple hundred feet. But there's this scarcity of water problem that causes water treatment, transportation, distribution, bottling, collecting, cleaning, recycling, sewer. So there's a whole infrastructure that goes into the idea of scarce water. You need to take your shit, we need to rush it to the treatment plant, put a bunch of chemicals in it, and then we give it back to families as drinking water. If you think I'm kidding about that, that's the truth. Hate to tell you, your piss and shower water, what do you think? It goes out to the ocean? No. It goes back to the treatment plant where they put chemicals in it to get rid of it, strain it a couple times, treat it, and then send it right back to your house. Okay? Now, that's why I distill my water, because it is truly the best water that you can have, because all distilling is a boiling, basically boils your tap water, and only the good actual water goes up as steam and comes through the piping out as steam, where the rest of the water dissipates into what looks like cocaine. It's like white bath salts, which is probably fluoride. We're going to get into that a little bit too. So science hides the fact that we actually have water being created in the earth. Okay, now the reason they can't do that is because they have this whole story, right? That the Earth was like getting hit by rocks and gas, but they say the water came from the aliens or something, right? Water came from the outside, a meteor or something, which is just stupid. But that's what they want you to believe. Speaking of that, it's so crazy that there's so many synchronicities. Today, Dave Weiss sent me the video of... No, it was the app video. The app video was insane. It's like, what timing? As I'm learning about... Oh, and by the way, let's just get into something else. So within the last couple of days, I've pretty much have proven to me, I don't care what you think or whether it's proven to you, to me, remote viewing is true. Okay? There is something to it. It's a literal impossibility that the people who did my remote viewing session could have drawn the things that they drew without at least seeing some part of what I was thinking. It happened both with the first time and the second time, and the way they described things the second time would have never worked for the first time and vice versa. So how is that possible? If you don't believe it, I suggest you watch those 2 videos, and we're going to do it again, and I'm actually going to give it a try myself because I think it's amazing. And here's what we're going to get into. Dr. Emoto proved that water has a memory. Anyway, what? That doesn't make any sense. So what they did is like gave a little bit of medicine to, or diluted a little bit of medicine in a whole bunch of water, and then gave a big dose of this medicine to other patients. And what they found was there is no change. So what happens is, since there's a little bit of medicine in that water, it communicates to the whole water the medicine. It's insane to think about. Start to think about the implications there. Maybe if we said prayers in some way, or we collectively, and here's something I want to do, and I don't know who else we can get to do it. I don't think us watching this channel is enough. But what if we came up with a day, like September 1st? Everyone says their intentions, their hopes of what we hope happens to the cabal, what we hope happens to Klaus Schwab, what we hope happens to his, what is his little gay friend's name? I don't know. He's the evil, wicked-looking Jay. So those 2 guys, good quality people like Justin Trudeau, what do we hope happens? Well, maybe if we put that intent into the water, and maybe that's how these long-distance communications happen. So there has to be some mechanism in my mind for remote viewing. To me, I think now it's water. I think it's the atmosphere. I think that just like when you get to, let's say you go somewhere and you've got a bad feeling about the place, right? You're in a house that's haunted, so-called haunted. Maybe it's not haunted. Maybe all it is that the water underneath the pipes, wherever in the house, has a memory of what took place there. And all that you're doing is you're accessing. You don't know it. We get to the house, we just feel weird, right? Same thing where we wonder why we can see somebody who's looking at us from behind us. Why would we be able to know that? However, if that fact is being transferred through the atmospheric water, then it starts to make sense to me. So a lot of these things that I've always had questions about, I think can be answered with water. It's also something that I think we can investigate and test ourselves. I want to look into exactly what Dr. Emoto used. He says he used a high-speed camera. I don't know how much a high-speed camera is. I don't know how many frames per second he did, but it should. There's another Flat Earth Reborn. So what I want to do is do the same thing, because what he shows is incredible. And it's what I've talked about, why the news is so negative, because then they put this negative vibe out there and then everybody's in a mood. The way they scared people with the flu, all these things. Could they all be answered with the idea of water and its amazing qualities? So in case you don't know, water is different than everything else on Earth. Number one, like the 3 stages that it's in. Remember, the God is part of the Trinity. Well, water is a Trinity. It's got its gas, it's got its liquid, and it's got its solid, which all 3 exist at all times. Right? There's never a period where there's no liquid. There's never a period where there's no gas. There's never a period where there's no ice. How about the fact that water is the only liquid that when frozen expands? Okay, so that's the only item that does that. So water is special. Water is quite different. So we know that primary water wells exist. They're all over. And yet science still says that water is neither created or that it's conjured up within the earth. They say it's all water that fell down. Whereas it's been shown and proven that water is being rushed up in massive, massive quantities. I want you to listen to a story here that I want to bring up that I think is incredible. The first part of the story that caught my eye was that and I don't know what year this was. Let me find out exactly what year it was. A few years ago, there was an earthquake in Sonoma, okay, by Vallejo. It's about 2-3 hours north of me. Anyway, when that happened, all the fissures, the cracks in the ground, started to be leaking water. Okay, and I'm not talking about a little bit of water. I'm talking about, I don't know if I wrote it down. Yeah. So after the Napa earthquake, water started to rise up at 1,000 gallons a minute from the fissures in the rocks. And it actually fixed the drought for the whole area, because the whole area was in trouble. They had dry lakes and stuff. Well, the water popped out. It was 10 times more than they're used to having come up from these springs. So they were taken care of. They let it flow down into the rivers, replenished everything. And then all these communities were able to drink. And they tested the water, and it was fantastic. Way better than your regular tap water. How about the fact that we've got springs that appear at the tops of mountains? How's that possible? So Mount Whitney in California, at 12,000, 13,000 feet, there are bubbling springs that come up all the time. They come up all the time. So they're permanent. They come up constantly. And that's insane. Where's that water coming from? And when you're talking about 1,000 gallons a minute, think about how much that is in a day, right? Let me show you this video here.
Okay, everyone, in my last video, I showed you a meteorite crater in Arizona that is supposedly 55,000 years old, and I showed you how the crater is still there, but the big meteorite that landed there is just totally gone.
Poof.
And I also went on to let you know that if you Google or whatever you want to do to look for asteroids, they're all computer generated images.
By the way, let me stop right there and look at this.
By an artist.
At least he's smart enough to say that. Do you know that there's people that actually think these are real images? And that's what they show you for asteroids. They're obvious computer generated images, and people can't see that. People who love the space lie, the testicle lovers, the heliosexuals, they love it.
Anyways, what kept eating at me was a scripture from Genesis 7:11. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. Now pay attention closely. It says all the fountains of the great deep broken up. Great deep means the deep ocean. Broken up means to come upward. So anyways, as I went on the search, I realized that there were more supposedly meteorite craters all over the world in different continents, all around, roughly around the same size as you can see here in these pictures. I took a picture from each continent from every one of these supposedly meteorite craters. But out of all these craters, there's nothing left of the meteor that landed there. And I say that in quote. Supposedly landed there. There's nothing left of the meteorite, but all the craters are still there. So I went to investigate a little more, and I'd remembered researching geysers many years ago.
I'll put this in the t.me/Journeys links.
Geysers look like, but the images I'm showing you are what the geysers look like when they're actually erupting. So check this out. Now, does these craters underneath these geysers not look familiar to you? Just take a really close look. Now I'm showing you the ones that are erupting. Now let's take a look at the ones that are not erupting. Okay, now let's compare the so-called meteorite craters with the geyser craters. Now, check this out. As you can see here, there's a runoff on the meteor crater and a runoff on the geyser. Now, look at here. Right in the middle, you see where the geyser actually comes up. You can see it in the meteor crater and the geyser. That's where the water comes up at. Same thing here. Everything around it is just where the water pressure coming up explodes everything outward.
It's weird because it looks to me too like there's water runoff
on
a lot of those.
The crater and the right of the geyser, they're shaped identical. That's water pressure, not a meteorite.
I'll stop it there if you want to watch it. He goes a little bit further, but it's an excellent observation. And this is why people should be allowed to speak, have a channel, say things. Nobody's claiming that he's 100% right. I like to hear somebody's honest opinion. Somebody found something different than we're used to seeing, and I get a chance to now investigate that and put it in my mind as a maybe. Nobody's saying buy into it. I don't want to see any chat messages like, you're so stupid, you think that that's water. I was taught that it was a meteor. I don't give a shit. Don't care at all.
Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your